Speaker is Mario Perez. Dr. Mario Perez graduated in medicine at the School of Medical Sciences of Santa Casa de São Paulo and obtained his PhD degree at the Federal University of São Paulo, Unifesp. He completed his postdoctoral fellowship at the Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia and is currently a senior researcher at the Israelite Hospital Albert Einstein in São Paulo, professor of neurology and neuroscience at Unifesp, and vice president of the Spiritist Medical Association of São Paulo. He is a fellow of the American College of Physicians. Let us please welcome Dr. Mario Perez.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. It's I'm very honored, and it's a great pleasure to be here again with good friends and good people. And I'm also very happy to share with you some data we just collected. We have some very interesting topics to talk about. We did a study on religious and spiritual beliefs, practices, and experiences in the Brazilian population. And we'll talk about the demographics, methodology, religious affiliation, spirituality, religiosity, and faith, optimism, depression, anxiety, God's definition, beliefs, practices, and experiences. But I'd like to start with this graph showing historical data in the past years, showing what's been happening in Brazil with the decline in Catholics, a rise in Protestants, those without religion, and also in Spiritists. And I'll go straight to what we found in our study. This is the 2010 census, and this is what we found in this current 2016 survey. So we found 20% less Catholics, 4% less Protestants, 7% more Spiritists, 1% less of those without religion, 6% more Christians, 4% spiritualists, and then a lot more of agnostics, atheists, Umbanda, Candomblé, Buddhists. Only Jehovah's Witnesses were pretty much the same, and also some more Jewish. Why is happening that? Do we have a real change in 6 years? What we think is happening is the methodology. So let me explain how is the Census 2010 methodology. This is the form, the data collection form for the 2010 census in Brazil. So it's someone asking for you all these questions about your, several aspects of your life, but the part regarding religion is only this box here, where they ask and you have to tell what you are. So you don't have options. And then we have a big difference in a face-to-face interview and like our survey with a self-administered questionnaire with several options for you to choose from. So we offered the options Kardec Spiritist, we offered Spiritualist, I don't know what it is, but it's there. We offered also Christian, Umbanda, Candomblé, so, and also atheist, agnostic, no religion. So we could have a lot more of the responses. And we decided for this research for a self-administered questionnaire, and we used the Qualtrics panel of respondents. Because we have faster data collection, there are previously published reliable scientific data from these panels. You can define a target population, and we aim to get 1,000 individuals from the Brazilian population age over 18. And we ask for age ranges like those, social class, a male-female balance, a geographical balance as well. The length of the interview was less than 30 minutes. We inserted quality checks, attention filters, and quality check questions. We randomized the blocks, so the last question don't get a tiredness effect from the respondent. We search for invalid responses, so those who replied too quick, and we excluded poor quality responses. We also we inserted forced response validation, so everybody had to respond all questions in the survey. So we started with 1,196 respondents, and then 1,052 completers, and then we analyzed 1,016 of what we call cleaned completers. Again, this finding of the current religion, and we also could assess primary and secondary affiliation. We asked, after your current affiliation, what else do you go? Which religion you also follow? And then we have a significant secondary affiliation in everybody, most everybody. In Catholics and Protestants, a lot in Spiritists, Spiritualists, Umbanda, Candomblé. And if we count Kardec Spiritists, Spiritualists, Umbanda, and Candomblé, considering first and secondary affiliation, we'll get 30% prevalence in the general population. We study also conversion, not like this one, but we asked the religion people were born with. And we can find here a lot of Catholics were born Catholics, but moved to Protestant, Spiritist, Spiritualist, and several others. In this bar in the center, you have the 50% bar, and then you can see most of the Protestant Catholics were born with the same religion, but only 37% of Spiritists and several others. Jewish people as well were born Jews, which is also expected. In terms of gender, there is a male predominance in atheists, in Jewish, in other religion, in Jehovah's Witnesses, and female preponderance in Umbanda, Spiritists, Protestants, and Candomblé, Spiritualists, and Christians. In terms of geographic distribution, it's not a lot different, but we can see there's not a lot of Spiritists in the north part, as the census already showed in 2010. Education is higher in Spiritualists, in Jewish, and Kardec Spiritists. This is the post-graduation, number of people with post-graduation. Employment status is not that different. Maybe if you compare Jewish to Umbanda or Jewish to Jehovah's Witness, but it's very similar across all the religions. Social class as well, you have a predominance of class B I don't know why not class A. Maybe they're not telling how much they're making. But it's pretty much the same, not very different if you compare Spiritist Protestants and Catholics. Race, as you can see, there are, as you would expect in Buddhism, more Oriental origin. It's interesting in Umbanda, some Indians, because some entities in Umbanda are related to the Indians. So it's we don't have a lot of people, but it's a trend. It's an interesting finding. How much do you practice your religion? The Protestants are those who follow very hard the religion, Umbanda as well. And if we look at those with only high religious involvement, and if we consider that in the general population, then the first religion will be the Protestants, and then only 5% of Catholics, and half of it of Spiritists. Faith. We ask them how much faith they have. And not surprisingly, atheists, agnostics, and no religion have a higher percentage of little or very little faith. And maybe some difference between if you compare one or other religion here. We also score the life orientation test, which is a standard measure for optimism. And we can find here atheists and Jewish with less optimism, and maybe Spiritists and Umbanda with higher. Also, the happiness, the Sonia Lebowski happiness scale, it's a 0 to 10 scale. And we have more than 8 scored by Jehovah's Witnesses, close to 8 by Protestants, and spiritualists and Buddhists with lower scores. Maybe Buddhists are focusing too much on suffering, and it's hard to tell exactly, and more analysis have to be done here to see the differences. It's just a preliminary result here I'm showing you. We also have anxiety with the GAD-7 scale, and depression with the PHQ-9. We can find Christians with higher rates and Buddhists. Not a lot of anxiety in atheists. Very interesting. And not a lot of anxiety in Jehovah's Witnesses as well. So we may have to analyze in terms of their practices and see what is affecting the anxiety and depression scores. We asked about the possible definitions of God that may accept as yes or no, or they could also reply, I don't know. And they're all similar. God is everything. God is the creator. God is a higher power. God is someone who abandoned humans. God is a human invention. God is every being, is spiritual energy, a love being. God is inside us. God is nature. God is a superior power. How important is God in your life, according to the religions? Of course, atheists are not very important. Don't consider God as important. And all the others, maybe Protestants, may consider God more important than others. Jehovah's Witnesses here, Christians, and also Umbanda, very high. How much your religion influenced your life? for donations, for volunteering, for politics. We have election day today in Brazil, so not a lot of people think that religion would influence politics or voting. Not a lot of people influenced in terms of denying medical advice, but a significant part, 45%, would think that religion would influence the ability for them to follow a medical advice. Also, a good percentage in smoking, taking drugs, drinking alcohol, near 45%, and also some other aspects in life that you may see here. Regarding beliefs, we asked how strongly they believe in things like bad spirits can harm you, good spirits can protect you, there is heaven and hell, we are spirits having human experience, or we are humans having a spiritual experience. Physical death is a bridge to something bigger. Dead people can communicate. You can reborn as another being or as a human. Believe in life after death, in immortality. Believe in God. Believe that someone can predict the future. Miracles, guardian angels, spirits of the nature can influence the climate. When we die, it's all over. Believe in saints, mediumship, and in a higher power. You see the navy blue and light blue for those strongly or moderately believe. We also asked if it's likely, not likely, impossible, or certainly exist things like mind can heal the body, a spirit can assume temporarily a human being, reincarnation, witches, astrology, people can speak with someone who died. Can you read it? Is it big enough? No. The human mind can predict the future. ETs visited us, telepathy. The spirit of a dead people can visit us, spiritual possession, haunted houses, the sixth sense, spiritual cure, spiritual treatment can help diseases, spiritual energy is in nature, and evil eye, olho gordo in Portuguese. So let's take a look in some of them, because we don't have all the time to go through every single aspect, but I picked some of them to check whether the religion would affect. And what we can see is that it's impossible for a certain amount of Christians, for a lot of the Jehovah's Witnesses, for atheists to spiritual treatment help disease. But many of the Spiritists, a lot of Protestants and Catholics, and in general, those are the figures. Spiritual cure. For Spiritists, not surprisingly, many of them believe in that, but many of the Protestants also believe in spiritual cure, and also Catholics, Umbanda a lot, spiritualists, Christians. Spiritual possession. Not all Spiritists, more actually Protestants than Spiritists believe in that. Atheists don't believe in general, agnostics with no religion. About the sixth sense. We have, a lot of Umbanda, Candomblé, Buddhists, Kardec Spiritists, and not many of the atheists, not many Jews, not many Protestants and Catholics as well. Can the human mind predict the future? Let me go back. Candomblé, Umbanda, Spiritists, many Jews, and it's impossible to happen for almost 50% of Protestants, all Jehovah's Witnesses, and a significant number of Christians and atheists as well. How about reincarnation? It's interesting because some of these religions here are not, don't actually follow or don't believe in reincarnation, not reincarnationists, but still many people, many Catholics, many Protestants, many Jews, a lot of even atheists and agnostics and those without religion believe in reincarnation. In general, thinking of seeing the total population, we have almost 50% of people that believe in reincarnation. How about spiritual practices? How much time do I have? What's that? Okay. So, spiritual practices. A lot of people pray, and 56% of people pray every day. Let's take a look in other practices. Here we can see, daily reading of the Bible, of other spiritual reading, meditation, breathing techniques, contemplation, saint devotion. Fasting. Jews, of course, do it weekly because of the Friday, the Shabbat. And then, many of the Protestants as well. And other religions do fasting too, like Umbanda. Prayer. Across all the religions, not atheists and agnostics and those without religion, but people do pray on a daily or a weekly basis, and maybe equally Protestants and Spiritists, equally Catholics, and if you compare to the general population, and also spiritualists and Christians. Meditation. More Buddhists, as we would expect, but several others and many other religious affiliations may do meditation every day. Bible reading, more for the Protestants and for the Jehovah's Witnesses. Reading a spiritual text or book, then you have more of this for other religions like Umbanda, Spiritism, and all others. Light a candle, very common as well. More with the Jews, a lot in Umbanda, Candomblé, but common in other religions. We asked about the experience of people as well. And many of them used intuition to take a decision, intuition for something, had intuition for something, had some death experience. 30% had a past life memory, ego dissolution, have seen images of someone who died, 40%, have heard voices of someone who died, 31%, union with God or a higher energy, felt the presence of someone who died, premonitory dream in 70%, a new reality revealed, union with the universe, sensation that all is divine, space-time experience, complete connection with nature, and some sensation that could not be brought in words. If you look at past life memories, you're gonna see that a lot of people, let's say in the range of 3 to 5% of people, 10% of Umbanda, 20% of Candomblé have frequently past life memories. And it's interesting because even Catholics and Protestants may have had once, like here, 33% of Catholics have had at least once a past life memory, and also Protestants, 22%. The visual experience of someone who died, if we consider the prevalence of schizophrenia, we may think of 0.5% in the population. And here we have at least 5 times, so 5, 3, 4, 6%. We have more of these experiences in Spiritists. We have a lot of them in Jewish, in Buddhists, in Candomblé, even in atheists. We have in agnostics. We have also visual experience, auditory experiences as well, less than the visual, but very similar. Have you felt a presence of a died person? Let me go back, sorry. Catholics, Protestants, very common. If you consider all those once, more than once, or frequently, you're gonna get 55 here, gonna get 27 here, so it's a lot of this experience from our sample. More in Spiritists, in Candomblé, in Spiritualists, not a lot, but also common in atheists and agnostics. Premonitory dreams, very common, 70% in the general population, maybe more in the Candomblé, maybe more in Spiritists, but common across all different cultures and religious affiliations. So I hope you don't feel dizzy with so much data, because I am. So let's go to the conclusions, and I'll try to summarize some of the data we showed. So we found in our 2016 survey 20% less Catholics, 4% less Protestants, 7% more Spiritists, 6% Christians, 4% Spiritualists, 3% atheists, 3% agnostics. Secondary affiliation is significant, almost 30% if you sum Spiritists, Candomblé, Umbanda, and Spiritualists. Conversion is very common, 2/3 of Kardec Spiritists. Protestants are the most involved in religion. Higher education in Jewish, Spiritists, and Spiritualists. Less faith and optimism in atheists, agnostics, those without religion, and less optimism in Jewish. higher depression and anxiety in Buddhists and Christians, less anxiety in atheists and Jehovah's Witnesses. Religion affects significantly daily habits, smoking, alcohol, and drug use in 40 to 45%, deny a medical advice in 23%, and follow a medical advice in 45%. Strongly believe in that people can communicate, 27%, life after death, 48%, immortality, 51%, God, 75%, miracles, 61%, mediumship, 35%, sense, 31%. Certainly exist or very likely to exist, sixth sense, 75%, spiritual possession, 71%, evil eye, 68%, ETs, 53%, reincarnation, 49%, haunted house, 43%, astrology, 42%. Practices, daily prayer in 55%, daily or weekly Bible reading in 32%, spiritual reading 39%, meditation 32%, breathing techniques 27%, contemplation 18%. Regarding the experiences, 70% intuition, 70% premonitory dream, 51% felt presence of a died person, 41% seen, 30% heard, and 30% had a past life memory. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marcelo Saad, for the information that you brought to us. And we now have 30 minutes for questions from the audience again. And we would like to invite everyone to participate, if possible. Not everyone, but some of us. We have 10 minutes. And we ask that the questions are directed to the topics that we discuss here, and that we are short as well.
Please be kind and speak slowly.
To break the ice, doctors, if you don't mind, I would like to ask the question. The first question. And Dr. Pettis, we saw on your research, I know you mentioned earlier that it's quite hard to understand what spiritualist means. But with your work in Brazil, your understanding, would you give some information what spiritualist is, and perhaps an example, if possible?
I think, I can suppose that spiritualist is the one that believe in the spirit, in the communication with spirits, in life after death, but does not consider him or herself as a spiritist, a Kardec spiritist, and does not consider as Umbanda or Candomblé follower, but that's all I can tell. We may dig into the database and try to discover these guys, what really they are, who they are. But since we offered this option, we actually are surprised that it's that amount of people, because in the 2010 census, the number of spiritualists were a lot less than the 4% that we found.
Thank you. A question from the audience?
This question is actually for both of you. Congratulations for the research that you conduct in Brazil. I would like to ask how much of the research has funding from the foundations in Brazil, how you get this research done, whether they are conducted in the university or outside.
Yeah, I will be involved in research in University of Santo Amaro in Brazil in a different field of this I presented, because I cannot make this kind of research in my university, but we will be engaged in research about relation between spirituality and religiosity and longevity, because I am in the department of populational medicine, and inside the field of cardiology we will study this relation in a huge population starting in the next year. So my field of research will be a little bit different of this one. This one is a hobby, and my profession will be more concrete, mind to body, the mind of the person over his own body, not mind of a person creating effects of a mind in another person.
Thank you. Next question.
Good morning. This question is from Mario. I saw that there was a slide up there that said that people's religious affiliations influence things like politics. Have you dug through the data to see which particular sects or groups are more involved in politics or care more about politics than others?
We can take a look and analyze that, but we haven't done yet.
I have a question for Dr. Saad, and that is, have you or others done research in distant diagnosis, and would it be easier to conduct controlled experiments in diagnosis than in healing?
You mean someone make an intuition of
Yes.
a diagnosis of another person?
For example, like Edgar Cayce.
I have a friend of mine that is cardiologist that have this sensitivity, and in one consultation, but he cannot explore it, and he recently entered for Spiritism, very recently, but he has this ability hidden, dormant by many years. And this cardiologist was with a person that made an operation in the heart, and he smelled something bad, and he felt the smell, and the patient said, "I don't feel this smell," and 3 days after, patient developed an infection in the incision, in the surgical incision. So it is a kind of diagnosis. I have a colleague also that when the patient entered, he knows what the patient has and what has to be done. And curiously, many of the persons that has this capacity is not aware of the spiritual dimension or a specific interest in develop this thing. This is so natural for them that this cannot be developed. And sometimes it awakes the person for other realities, and the person will pursue it, explanations and development for this ability.
Thank you.
Last question.
Dr. Pérez, I'd like to know what objectives do you have for the future with this research, and if we have some studies in the future with this that you are presenting now.
Yeah, we need a lot of analysis on this data. We'll try to publish, and if any of you have some advice on what journal we should send it to, that'll be very good. And the plans for the future is to ask again the same Qualtrics panel, but try to translate the same very questionnaire and check and compare the differences in other countries, other cultures like the US, Europe, Asia. So we'll be glad to have cooperative work with, doing the translation of this, and trying to do a more universal understanding of religions and spiritual beliefs, practices, experiences. And since we can replicate the same methodology, that will be comparable. So, and of course, maybe in 3 or 5 years we can do it again and see what's going on in terms of changing of people's experiences and affiliations. And we cannot follow the same population because it's a policy of the of Qualtrics, but we can do the same research again, and because it's hard to compare 2010 methodology with our methodology. So a lot of the changes we found are not actually a difference from 6 years of time. So we'll try to do that in the future.
We have one more question. We'll make this the final question.
Question to Dr. Paris. I was just thinking if you compared, or if you're thinking comparing in the future in this population that you study, the relationship with the religion and health. Because I just noticed in your data that like the Jehovah, they have the more faith, more belief, less anxiety. So do you have in your plans like adding questions like with health problems and diseases to see if the faith and the practice of religion can be related to the health of the population?
Yeah, we have data on quality of life that we could not get it. For this meeting, we're still working on it. And we have some data. We have the list of disorders and medications these people were taking. And so it's possible, yes. But it's nice to do the same methodology in different settings, like in clinical settings. We are doing a research in people with eating disorders, patients with eating disorders. And, I think it's important for endocrinologists, the fasting issue. A lot of people, there's so many graphics but the fasting, the practice of fasting is very important for diabetes care. And, we have asked people whether they had or had not diabetes, so we can analyze that. But I think, a particular study in diabetic patients is very important regarding at least this particular issue of spiritual practice.
Thank you.
We thank you, both you doctors, for your wonderful work. And at this time, we would like to invite everyone for our lunch break. until 1:30 this afternoon. During this break,